What is up, guys? Pie Muffin here, and we are back with another Tales of Crestoria video. It's kind of related to other things, but it's mainly a Crestoria video. I'm seeing a lot, especially recently, as people probably saw my previous video, and you've probably seen online, the global version of Star Ocean Animesis is going to be shutting down. It basically got the treatment, more or less, that Tales of the Rays Global had, where it's a mobile game that starts late, in a foreign region from its own, and it doesn't get the traction that it needs to survive. I wanted to make this video because there's a lot of people who are already really throwing shade at Crestoria, thinking it's already a doomed game, it's gonna shut down. And I've talked about this in previous videos, but I want to make a solid, solitary video on this as to why that's not going to happen and why Tales of Crestoria is going to do just fine. So the big thing is that you first have to look at. So both of the English and Japanese version of Crestoria, as you can see right here, they've been uploading consistently. Usually what happens, if a Japanese mobile game is going to come out first, usually they start posting everything, and then you'll see 6 months after the game is already out, the English version will start posting. You can see right here with, I still have these up from my Star Ocean video. Does it say? I hate the new layout for Twitter. Okay, so join September 2016. So that's roughly, I know in 2016 is when the game launched in Japan. You look at the English version, joined May 2018. You see, and the game launched in July of 2018. So it roughly had 2 months of this being here before it actually launched. So here was the biggest issue with Star Ocean that they suffered from, is they started their version roughly 2 years too late. The big thing with these kind of games, you've got Star Ocean, Tales of the Rays, what was the other one? Valkyrie Anatomia is another one that's starting super late. Valkyrie Anatomia is on its 3rd year anniversary. Well, I think the 3rd year anniversary is already passed, but it's on its 3rd year of the game, and the game just launched a couple months ago in English, and that's a doomed failure right there. But basically, what I'm trying to get at here is that these niche franchises that don't have a huge kind of voice over here in the West don't tend to survive as long when they start late like this, because they're not on one server. Now, what I mean by one server is, and we're going to use Sword Art as an example. So as you can see here, I have the Japanese Twitter pulled up for Sword Art Memory Defrag. This is one of the games that the English and Japanese version release stuff simultaneously because they're on one server. I honestly feel like if this was a game that started late, it would not still be alive today. Now, that could be debatable because Sword Art is a much more well-known franchise than something like Tales or Star Ocean, but it's just an example of the fact that, so right here, this is the banner that dropped last night with these two characters. It went live at the same time for Japanese players and English players, and that's because the game exists on one server. It's not like there's 2 different versions of the game for you to download. It's literally one version, and you choose your language option. So my point with that is that that's what Tales of Crestoria is going to be doing. They're going to, whenever the game releases, whether it's this month, next month, or any time before 2020, what's going to happen is there's going to be an app if you have a phone that's, in Japan. If you have an app that's wherever you are in the world, it's going to be the exact same app everywhere you go. So the good thing about this is, let's say, we only have 5,000 followers on the Crestoria Twitter currently. The game hasn't even released yet, so that's already a good sign that it's a decent amount of followers. Even at its end, Star Ocean only got up to 8,000. And obviously, Crestoria is much more popular in Japan. You look at the 77,000 matched to the 5,000. Same thing with the Japanese Star Ocean, 58,000 matched to 8,000. That's why there's not really anything to worry about this, because even if English doesn't carry their weight, Bandai is still going to just, it doesn't take a lot of work just for them to, translate everything for a mobile game. That's all they really have to do. There's no dubbing involved. The game, I've already made a previous video. This game's not going to have an English dub, which it really doesn't need one because it's a mobile game. It's not going to be, super intensely voiced anyway. Um, so yeah, so that's obviously the main point here is that it's not going to shut down. And we can. I don't really want to pull up too much of this, but you go here and you see all the stuff about it shutting down and all the kind of complaints that people are having, which they are merited because it does suck. Because, and it sucked for Tales of the Rays too. Tales of the Rays didn't even have a Twitter. They had a Facebook page. And obviously we were in the era where Twitter is a big thing. And the reason these games don't do well is the first reason, obviously, they should just release these games together with the Japanese version. Square Enix English, or whatever you want to call them, should have been prepared in 2016 when Star Ocean released. And then same thing with Bandai for Tales of the Rays. They should have been ready in, 2017? I think it was like summer of 2017 when it came out for Tales of the Rays. I forget when it actually started. But they should have been ready when the Japanese version came out. They should have been like, okay, let's have our English. And I'm sure there's probably a rights issue. I don't know if it's really an issue, but I'm sure it has to deal with if the Japanese companies want to share one server or how that's really going to work. But yeah, so, and people might actually ask the question, how do you know it's going to be on one server? Everything is pointing to it. Every time the Japanese version releases something, the English version releases it almost immediately right after. The only exception were, I don't want to scroll all the way down, but there were those 2 live streams that came out. That was the only exception, but that's because those were like hour-long live streams that they had to translate into English subtitles. So that took a little bit of time to put up there. But with a video game, they're getting the stuff ready now. And plus, the other point is that coming in 2019, wrong one. They're both 2019 games. You see it, obviously it's probably here somewhere. Yeah, okay, right here. 2019. Everything is pointing towards it coming out this year, which it will. If it gets pushed back, then that would be wild, and there'll be a lot of complaining, but everything is set is a 2019 game. And the thing is, Bandai knows the mistakes that were made, obviously, with Tales of the Rays. They know that they should have released it simultaneously with the Japanese version so that the English version could still be alive. It would just be attached to something that's still popular. Tales of the Rays is in its 3rd year. It's not going anywhere anytime soon for the Japanese version. So that's obviously what they should have done, and that's what they're going to do with Tales of Crestoria. However long Crestoria lives, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4 years or more, the English version will always be around as long as the Japanese version is. It's not going to be this case of like, we're not going to support the English version anymore, blah, 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 because it's all the same app. It's not going to be a different app. And that's kind of the point I wanted to get across here, because I'm seeing a lot of people being like, oh, what's the point of even trying to support Tales of Crestoria, because it's just going to shut down like the others. Like, people need to use a little more critical thinking when it comes to these sort of things, because a lot of people are just, and I understand being upset, Tales of the Rays shut down, and then Star Ocean shuts down. If you're a fan of both those, games, then that must suck, and you immediately want to be like, oh, why should I trust another anime mobile game that doesn't have a huge following when they're just going to disappoint me anyway? But I still would say look into things more before you immediately judge and start throwing shade at a company. I'm sure let's find a really popular tweet here. I'm sure there's at least somebody being like, obviously I'm loving all of this love that the game is getting from all these different kinds of people. No, it doesn't look like there's anything right there. But I have seen, like, right when Crestoria was announced, people were very skeptical about anything related to this game. It's been pretty much the only, I guess, annoying thing that people are asking about is obviously release date. Okay, but you get my point. There are a lot of people who are very skeptical of it, but I would just say don't immediately attack the messenger of this game. Wait till it comes out. you'll see it's not going to, if it doesn't release at the same time, if the Japanese version, let's say the Japanese version releases this month in August, and then the English version releases next month, then yeah, get as mad as you want, because then I feel like this game is doomed to fail. But I am 90% sure that the English version is launching alongside the Japanese version. There's literally no reason for them to be keeping up with everything, as closely as they can with the Japanese version if they weren't going to release it simultaneously. But anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think down below. I'm still very excited for Tales of Crestoria to come out. Obviously, people are upset with the recent anime games being shut down for more niche franchises, but I would just say there is hope for games in the future, so just look forward to that. And if you really are worried about a game shutting down, just make sure you don't put, money into them until you feel safe with a game being around. But that's it, guys. I will see you all next time. Have a wonderful day, everyone.